We ride away from the school as fast as we possibly can, and don't look back or stop until we've made it back to the woods. After climbing off of our bikes, feeling emotionally exhausted and defeated once again, the three of us just fall to the ground and sit there watching as police car after police car goes speeding past, racing toward the school. After a few minutes go by and no one says anything, I check my phone again to see if Marcus has replied back yet. When I see that he hasn't, I tell the others. Still no word from Marcus. I know it's risky, but I really think that we should go over to the hospital. Looking over at Aaliyah, I continue. You heard what Anton said. Marcus is gonna be next. The sun will be coming up soon, so if she plans on killing him tonight, then she could literally show up there at any minute. Please, we can't let her get him too. Darius replies, I'm sorry, Malik, but I don't know what else to do. We can't stop her. We've tried so many times, and now it's not just her that we have to worry about. No, we can't give up. I'm not giving up. I'm just stating the facts. Every time we think we have the upper hand, she always finds a way to still take us down. And like Anton said, she's not gonna stop until every last one of us is dead. Plus, she has his help now. Maybe it's time to just accept it. Our fate is that sooner or later we're all gonna die at the hands of the Tooth Fairy. Aaliyah butts in. Speak for yourself. I'm not accepting nothing. Come on, Malik, let's go. I stand and reach down to help Aaliyah up, but quickly realize that she's too heavy for me to ride on the handlebars of my bike, and she surely can't pedal with her ankle still being hurt. I guess the same realization has hit her too, because she says, Darius, whether you like it or not, you have to come. I can't ride there by myself, and I'm not gonna let him go alone. Look, just drop me off out front. You don't even have to go inside. Fine, he says, blowing his breath at her as he gets up. I climb on my bike and wait for Aaliyah to get situated on top of Darius's handlebars, and then we start heading to the hospital. No one says a word the whole ride there. The reason I'm so quiet is because I'm thinking of a way to get Marcus out of there. I hope that's what they're doing too, but I have a feeling that the only thing still on Darius's mind is Lewis. As we approach the hospital, we stop a few buildings away and stash our bikes in the back of a pizzeria, then walk the rest of the way there. Well, Darius and I walk. Aaliyah kind of hobbles along with her arm around Darius's neck for support. I'm glad he changed his mind about coming because I don't think I would have been able to help Aaliyah walk through the hospital all by myself. It's been such a long night and I'm so exhausted that I can barely carry myself, let alone someone else double my size. I feel bad that she's hurt, and I know that she just wants to help, but I kind of wish that she would have stayed behind at the pizzeria with the bikes because she's slowing us down. What if we get in here and have to make a run for it? For a second, I think about suggesting that she turn around and go back, but before the words even have the chance to escape my lips, I quickly think again. I'm not in the mood to get chewed out by her for suggesting such a thing. Plus, she had my back when I said that we should come here to get Marcus, so I can't turn mine on her now. As we arrive at the entrance to the emergency room, Darius tells me as he points over to 2 empty chairs in the waiting area. You guys go sit down over there and I'll talk to the receptionist. But why can't we all go? Because that'll look too suspicious. Wait, do you think that they'll be looking for us? Aaliyah asks. What do you mean? What if our pictures are on the news? Damn, I hadn't even thought of that. Most likely they are, but let's just hope that she hasn't seen them. So Aaliyah and I head over to the waiting area while Darius makes his way over to the receptionist desk and then gets in line behind the 2 other people who are standing there waiting. As I take a seat next to Aaliyah, I think to myself, man, I hope this plan works. It's 5 in the morning and things are pretty slow right now. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. A part of me thinks that maybe if it were more busy and crowded, then it'd be easier to blend in. After a few minutes pass by, Darius walks over and sits down next to me. So, what happened? She said visiting hours aren't until 8 a.m. and told me to come back then. I asked for his room number, but she said that she isn't allowed to give it to me. With a worried look on her face, Aaliyah questions, "Why not? Do you think she noticed who you were?" "Nah, I don't think so. She said something about not being able to give out personal information. If she did notice who I was, I don't think she would have been so nice." "Yeah, I guess you're right. So now what? We can't just sit here and wait until 8 in the morning. That's hours from now. He could be dead by then." As Aaliyah and Darius sit there talking, I take a look around, and that's when I spot the restrooms. "Look over there. The bathrooms are right next to the doors to get into the back. If we can sneak through them without being seen, then maybe—" Darius cuts me off. "Yeah, that's a good idea, but it's going to be hard enough for one of us to sneak through without getting caught, let alone all three of us." "Okay, so once we get back there, we'll just hop on the elevator. It can't be too far. Look, right there through the little windows on those doors. I can see the sign for it from here." Darius turns around to take a peek. "Alright, I guess we can give it a try. I mean, I can't think of any other ideas, but I really don't think it's going to work." Right at that moment, the lady who is next in line at the receptionist's desk starts yelling and screaming, waving a piece of paper around in the air and saying something about being charged for a service that the doctor didn't actually perform. As the lady continues her rant, the receptionist gets up from her chair, shouting back at the woman, and threatens to call security. "Come on, this is our chance." "You go ahead, we'll be right behind you," Darius tells me as he helps Aaliyah get up from her chair. So I creep past the desk and act like I'm headed to the bathroom, but when I see that no one is paying any attention to me because they are so focused on the commotion going on over there at the receptionist's desk, I dart toward the button on the wall that opens the massive double doors leading into the emergency room. Once I press it, the doors swing open soundlessly, and as I step through and look back behind me, I see my brother and Aaliyah making their way toward me, and they manage to make it through just before the doors close. Instantly, my eyes are drawn to the polished linoleum floors. They're so shiny that I can see my reflection in them. "Come on, this way," I say as I begin walking down the long corridor, then take a right at the corner and follow the signs that lead to the elevator. As I get closer to it, I notice a boy, around my age, standing there waiting. Then my breath catches in my throat when I hear voices coming down the hallway right toward us. But a moment later, when 3 nurses walk past and don't even seem to notice me, I breathe a sigh of relief. I make a beeline for the elevator, but by then, the boy who was standing there waiting has already gotten on, and just as the doors start to close, he turns around, and I gasp when I see who it is. Frantic, I turn around to alert Aaliyah and Darius. "I think we're too late." "How do you know? Did you see her?" Aaliyah asks, worried. "No, but I just saw Anton, and I don't know any other reason he would be here other than to come finish the job. He warned us that Marcus was going to be next." "Are you sure it was him?" "Yeah, I'm sure. He just got on the elevator. He must be heading for Marcus's room right now." I watch as the light above the elevator moves from each floor to the next. It starts off on G for ground, and that's the one that we're on right now. Then it moves to 1, then 2. When it stops on 3, I reply, "That has to be the floor Marcus is on." "Not necessarily. It could have just stopped to pick someone else up," Aaliyah informs me. Then Darius shouts, "Shit, we're not gonna make it in time. Go now, Malik, we'll catch up. You have to go stop him." As I push the button for the elevator, he tells me, "No, take the stairs, it'll be faster. Her leg, she won't make it up the steps, so we'll wait for the elevator. Run, hurry up and stop him before he gets to Marcus. We'll get up there as soon as we can." Just as I take off running, a loud booming voice echoes behind me. "Hey, what are you kids doing back here?" As I look back, I see a security guard has approached Aaliyah and Darius. My brother is talking to him and pointing down at her ankle. Then the elevator chimes, and when the doors open, Darius drags Aaliyah inside and closes them right in the security guard's face before he can catch them. He angrily snatches his walkie-talkie from its belt loop, and assuming that he's calling for backup or alerting the police, I pick up speed, and when I finally make it to the end of the hall, I burst through the door and start climbing the stairs 2 at a time until I make it to the 3rd floor. When I exit into the hallway up there, I see that Darius and Aaliyah have already gotten caught. I knew Aaliyah having a twisted ankle was going to be a problem. 3 security guards, as well as a few nurses, are all huddled around them. Darius sees me and gives me a look which I know means that I'm going to have to do this on my own. So then I look at the signs to determine which way I should go. First, I make a left and start heading down the hallway, every few seconds passing another door with a hand sanitizer dispenser on the wall outside. I peek into each room, not knowing who I'm going to find. The first few I peer into, the patients have the bedside lamp on, and I can clearly see that they aren't Marcus. I apologize to the ones who noticed me and make up an excuse that I thought it was my family member's room. One patient is an elderly lady who is awake but looks comatose, staring up at the ceiling and not even acknowledging the fact that there is a complete stranger in her room. The next room I enter, there is a young man in there, but I don't even realize it at first. It's so dark when I enter that I think the room is empty, until I get close enough to the bed that I see the outline of his body under the covers. Thankfully, he remains asleep, so I sneak out of there before I wake him. As I make my way to the next room, one of the doors suddenly closes, causing me to nearly jump out of my skin. And then out of nowhere, a draft of air hits me in the face. It feels warm, and I smell a hint of bleach. I place my hand on the knob, turn it, and step inside. The curtain is pulled closed, and the only light in the room is coming from the TV. I gently start to pull the curtain open, then quickly pull it shut again when I see that there's a young lady getting dressed. I apologize and run out of there embarrassed. As I reach the next corner, I read the signs. Oncology to the left and upstairs. Maternity ward to the right and downstairs. Rooms 300 to 330, make a right. So I turn right, and that's when I catch a glimpse of Anton. But he's not wearing the same clothes as he was downstairs. Now he has on a hospital gown. I start running down the hallway after him, and when he realizes I'm coming, he darts into one of the rooms. From where I'm standing, I can't see who is inside, but then after a moment, I hear him talking to someone. He introduces himself, but says that his name is Dante. Then he continues, "I know him from school and heard what happened, so I wanted to come and check on him." That's when I recognize the woman's voice who replies, "It's my Aunt Pat's." She asks him what happened to him, obviously noticing the many bruises he has all over his face from when Lewis put a beating on him at the school. He answers, "I got into an accident riding my ATV earlier today, and even though I tried to tell her I was okay, my mom insisted that I come in and get checked out." "Better to be safe than sorry," she tells him. Now that I know he's made it to Marcus's room, I start to panic, thinking, what am I going to do? If I just walk in there, Aunt Pat is surely going to flip and throw me out of there, or have me drug out by security. And Marcus isn't going to be much help either, because I figure he must be knocked out from all of the drugs the doctor gave him if he hasn't said anything about Anton to his mom yet. I want to go in there so badly and scream to the rooftops, he's the one who did this to Marcus, and he's only here now to help the Tooth Fairy get him. But I know that seeing me will only enrage her more, and she still won't believe me, just like she didn't when we were back at her house. Just then, I hear Anton tell her, "I overheard one of the doctors telling a nurse to have you sign the paperwork so that they can release Marcus. That's why I came, to say goodbye, and to tell him that I hope he gets well soon." Instantly, she becomes outraged. "They can't release him yet. I thought that doctor said that they would keep him overnight for observation. Excuse me, honey, I'll be right back." Then she comes storming out of the room and down the hallway. Luckily, I managed to duck into another patient's room before she spots me. As soon as she's out of sight, I race into Marcus's room. Just like I thought, he's lying in the bed asleep. He's got stitches above one of his eyebrows and below his lip. His face is also still pretty swollen, although I can tell that the swelling has started to slightly go down. Seeing Marcus lying there in the bed, safe and sound, brings me so much relief that I almost forget why I'm here in the first place. But hearing Darius and Aaliyah's voices coming from down the hallway, screaming and shouting that they're not trying to cause any trouble, but that they just want to go check on their friend, snaps me out of it. That's when I see that Anton has already gotten 2 of the 3 windows in the room open, and he's trying to open the 3rd one now. I rush him, knocking him to the ground. His chin hits the floor, and he must have bit his lip because it starts to bleed. As he starts to stand back up, a terrified look comes over his face as he realizes that I'm not playing around. My eyes frantically scan the room for a weapon, and that's when I notice the drawer over by the sink, and as I race toward it, Anton darts for the last window again and attempts to open it. I slide the drawer open and grab the first thing that I see, then rip the plastic wrapper off and lunge at Anton, who has just managed to open the last window. I plunge the empty syringe into the back of his neck, catching him off guard. As I dash over and try to close the windows, Marcus starts to stir in his bed while Anton whines in pain, desperately reaching back behind him, attempting to remove the syringe. Once he finally grabs a hold of it, he pulls it out and throws it to the ground, and then just as I get the first window closed, I hear Darius's voice ring out. "Malik! Malik, what is going on down there? Is Marcus okay?" When Anton hears his voice and realizes that I'm not alone and he's outnumbered, he takes one last look at Marcus and then goes darting out of the room and down the hallway in the opposite direction. Knowing that Marcus is now safe, I turn and walk over to the doorway, then stick my head out and yell down the corridor to Darius, "Yeah, he's okay." Then I turn back around to wake him up and tell him that we've got to hurry up and get out of there. But when I do, I freeze in fear when I see the Tooth Fairy fluttering outside of one of the windows that I didn't get the chance to close yet, hovering there with that same creepy, sinister grin. Although I knew that it was a possibility, I had started to think that she wouldn't come for him because she had already gotten Lewis tonight. And she had never come for more than one of us in the same night before. Until now. As she starts flying closer, trying to make her way inside, I race over and slam the second window shut, and then I'm on my way to close the third and last window, but she's too fast. She slips through and flies right past me seconds before I manage to get it closed. Not knowing what to do, I turn around searching for her and scream for my brother. And then a moment later, I hear him arguing with the security guards, and my Aunt Pat is screaming, "What in the hell are y'all doing here? These are the kids who hurt my boy." But then the sound of Marcus flatlining floods the room, and within a matter of seconds, the yelling stops, and there are dozens of footsteps running down the hallway headed toward his room. But it's too late. Within those few seconds, the Tooth Fairy attacked, landing on his lips and prying them open as he slept peacefully, oblivious to everything that was going on. Then she crawled inside his mouth, and seconds later there was an explosion sound, like a watermelon being dropped and smashed into a million pieces. And now Marcus's pillow is drenched in blood, and his entire face is lying in pieces all around the room. I stare down at the piece of skin lying next to my sneaker, which I think either has to be part of his lip or his eyebrow because I can faintly make out a few of the stitches that had been there. All I can manage to do is stand there, with tears streaming down my cheeks, as the Tooth Fairy flutters her way out of the hole where his face used to be, but is now just a mutilated cavity. Her grin grows even wider, as Marcus's blood drips from her sharp, pointy, dagger-like teeth. Then, right before Darius makes it to the room, she holds up 4 fingers in the air, which I assume must represent me, Darius, Aaliyah, and Marcus. Then she lowers one, leaving only 3 remaining, and goes flying out of the same window that she slipped through right before I could close it. When I turned around, trying to see where she went, I must have left it open a crack. Just then, my Aunt Pat busts into the room with Darius and Aaliyah standing right behind her, as well as a bunch of nurses and security guards too. She looks around, then falls to her knees, and lets out the loudest, most gut-wrenching scream I've ever heard in my life. And at that moment, even though I know it sounds really messed up, I wish that she could have been here only seconds earlier when the tooth fairy killed Marcus. Or at least that I didn't leave the window open, because then her and everyone else would have finally gotten a glimpse of the tooth fairy and known that we've been telling the truth all along. But instead, my aunt is hysterically crying, with my cousin lying dead in a hospital bed, as security wrestles with me and my brother, trying to put us in handcuffs. Don't forget to subscribe for new stories weekly. See you next time on
Nina's Nightmares.
Really? You're supposed to click the like button, not me. Ugh.